Thokozani abogogo nabomkhulu. Thank you so much for joining us today for another healing session where we will be unpacking cleansings. It's still part of our hygiene series. So I'm just going to wait for the slides to go up. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mkhulu. From here on, I will hand over to Mkhulu Menzi to take us through a short breathing exercise, and then we shall begin. Mkhulu Menzi?
I'm here.
Can you please lead us through a short breathing exercise before we begin?
Surely. Hey, everybody, we're going to do a short breathing exercise, basically to relax our bodies, to center ourselves and get our minds into the space of receiving and also letting go of all the stress of the week and freshening up. So I'm going to ask everybody to just sit. If you are seated, sit straight with your shoulders loose. Relax your shoulders. Relax them. You can flex them up a bit. And then when we breathe in, we're going to breathe in into the diaphragm and breathe in into our stomach. Expand the stomach when we breathe in. And what we do, we're going to lift our arms up like this and clasp them like this on top when you breathe in. And when you let go, you just relax them and put them on your knees. That's how we're going to do it. So breathe in. We're going to do 3 times. Breathe in. And let go through your mouth. And breathe in again. And let go. And we take one last deep breath. And then we bring our hands to our chest, and as we let go. I'm going to take one deep breath again and go. Hold it. Concentrate on your breath. And through your mouth, let go everything. Thokozani, hetepo. That was our breathing exercise.
Thank you, Mkhulu. Thank you, Mkhulu. Can we please go to the slide and all recite the pledge? So I'd like everybody to please turn on their mics and recite the pledge together. So I will begin. Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi,
we are healers.
We are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We owe
our gifts to
our ancestors
and our creators.
And our Creator.
We live by the principles of Ma'at Hunu Ubuntu.
We live by the principles of Ma'at Hunu Ubuntu.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will approach each other with
respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will offer our advice, recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will offer our advice, recommendations,
trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult or abuse one another.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing.
We will share, practice, and raise awareness about natural healing.
Healthy lifestyles and well-being.
Healthy lifestyles
and
well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain
from posting negative
information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehood.
We will
refrain from posting irrelevant information
and falsehood.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
We will give back to nature what it has abundantly given us.
We will give back to nature what has abundantly given
to us.
Thokozani. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you everyone for that. So I will just go over our medical disclaimer, and it goes as follows. Information is for educational and informational purposes only and may not be construed as medical advice. The information is not intended to replace medical advice or treatment offered by healthcare professionals. So this is just a medical disclaimer that we need to say that this is an information sharing platform, and it does not replace or override consulting with your healthcare professional.
You need to press it again, Gogo.
Kulu, just press again so that all the slides show. So all the pictures. Okay. And then press again.
Press again.
Okay. I think we're good now. So why we chose hygiene and to do such an in-depth hygiene series is that we understand that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we need to make sure that all of our different houses, which is your body, the earth and your mind, they all need to be taken that you need to take proper care of them. And it's not in isolation. They all work together as a holistic system, and therefore making sure that each of your homes is adequately cleaned and taken care of. We will go into the next slide, and I will hand over to Mhleli to run us through the next content.
Thokozani Makhosi, welcome to today. Whilst we are here, just to move, I just want to emphasize what Xaba is saying, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And this particular session is important because with that in mind, we need to understand that we must conduct ourselves as though we do not live in a vacuum, okay? So it's important that we understand we are not in a vacuum, we are spiritual beings, and we need to therefore be aware of the factors which lead to spiritual impurities. Each one of us has umsamo, our individual shrine, and there is also umsamo in our homes, the shrines in our home. We also have umsamo wekhaya noma wesizwe rather, umsamo wesizwe, which is the universal shrine. And bearing all of this in mind, it leads us then into why cleansing? Why do we need to therefore cleanse? So coming from understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we look at also in terms of past events, why we would need to cleanse. Past events, looking at our ancestors, but more importantly, what happens when a person passes on. There are energies there where a person is transcending from one verse to another. So they're leaving this world in terms of their body, their flesh, but their spirit is then transcending. And those energies you do not want to bring into the world of the living, and therefore you need to cleanse when you come back from a funeral, for example. And then we have energy exchanges This has to do with also meeting people. When you meet people and you interact, there are energy exchanges. We all carry our individual energies. And sometimes, as we understand the duality of life, that some people, well, if I say some people, that includes ourselves. We may carry negative energies, we may carry positive energies. And unbeknownst to us, we exchange some of those energies. And when we exchange the negative energies and we take them on upon ourselves, they may not be good for ourselves or our environments. So this is the reason why, for example, we don't take children to funerals, because you don't want children to be susceptible to that energy prevalent at a funeral. Excuse me. And likewise, with regards to energy exchange, it's important, therefore, particularly for indigenous healers in this regard. Before ungena esigodlweni, you must do a cleansing process. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have taken on a negative energy, but it also serves as a point of respect for the elders, to say that you want to get to them in a clean state. So that's important there. Then we have our picture that says old and new. Now that deals with our rites of passage. There's a different cleansing that takes place in terms of rites of passage, and it does not bear any resemblance to being unclean. And I just want to make that clear, because when we do these cleansing, there are different types of cleansings, and it does not necessarily mean that if you are performing a cleansing, you are unclean. But you might be carrying certain impurities that you want to cleanse. And also the rites of passage are looked at as a metamorphosis that you undergo as a human being. So when you move from one stage to another, when you move from being a boy, for example, into the stage of manhood, you need to cleanse, because you're cleansing, you're shedding that skin, as it were, from being a boy into being a man. And then we look at the trauma. There, the cleansing is very important. We often neglect trauma, and we think that we are all okay. And we will realize, we will see also when we go into the psychology part of the healing, how important it is to deal with trauma appropriately. But also you need to cleanse. For example, in a rape situation, it is important then to cleanse that negative energy, so that you can then move on, and your things can return, or your status can return to normal in terms of you conducting your normal life. So those are just the examples in terms of the different types of cleansing that we have. And we're going to go on into when do we do the cleansing. I will hand over to Menzi. Menzi. All right, let me continue with doing the when. Now the cleansing, it is also important to understand that there are things which you will do on a daily basis to cleanse. For example, when you have left your home and you come back into your home, particularly again, indigenous healers, before you enter into isigodlo sakho, you need to just cleanse. And that's something that you do on a daily basis. Also taking a bath, also cleansing the air, burning incense, it's part of the cleansing. Those you do daily. There are cleansings that you can do monthly, depending on some of the things that you want to do. For example, following the lunar cycles, where you are cleansing yourself according to new moon, when the new moon comes. And then there are specific types of cleansing rituals that are performed, for example, determined by a funeral. That's not something that you do every day. It's not something that you do every month, but you do it, it's occasion specific. So when a funeral takes place, you will then have to cleanse thereafter. So there are different time frames for the cleansing. And then we will move on to the purifiers. And again, Menzi will help us with this one.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the purifiers, greetings, everybody. I hope I can be heard. Earlier, my mic was not audible. Okay, but everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So one of the main purifiers is water. As you can see on the screen there on the top left corner, we have water basically running through. I like the image because it's got water running through the heart. And we know that we are really made up of a lot of water. Some people speak about 78% water. Some say even 92% water. Now, since water is an element of life that enhances the life force, it actually is a cleansing element within us, but it also animates the blood. There is no part of the body that does not require water. And that water, because we do sometimes through the things that we eat and through the things that we do, encounter and take on impurities into our own body and toxicity. And so our blood becomes, not just our blood, but our whole system becomes a place of toxicity. You need to cleanse using water. Now, there are obvious uses of water. The most obvious use is bathing to cleanse the outside. But there's also the part where you have to realize, just like we were doing the breathing, you have to realize that water has a memory, water has power, water has energy, and you can activate that energy by working with water. There are various ways. So because the water links the spiritual to the physical parts of us. Water also protects your life force. As I've already mentioned, that we have a life force within us, the energy that animates us. And water also facilitates the interdependence of all living things, right? So the other element is fire. I'm going to the bottom right corner. So fire is a very powerful purifying element. I used to like using the expression that we are gold, we are golden beings. Before I used to say we are spiritual beings, and I used to say we are golden beings. If gold is burnt in the fire and it is not purified, then it was not really truly gold. But if gold goes through the fire and it basically becomes better, it becomes a better element of gold. So also with us, because we are made of all these elements, fire is what we need. I mean, even our bodies, we are called hot-bodied beings. We need that fire in our body. It animates our blood, it animates our brain, it keeps the heart pumping. So fire, in the normal sense, it's been used by many ancient traditions, from the Khoisan to the Aboriginal, Native Australians. All different ancient traditions have used fire as an element for purifying the mind, the body, and your energy points. So, and also the American and the Rastafarian traditions use fire. There's something in the Rasta movement called the fire key, which is lit for 7 days, and then people, in order to purify themselves and their minds from negative thoughts and from negative situations, they walk around the fire at a certain time. Walk around that fire which has been burning for 7 days. It's part of a purification ritual. And it can be done also in the home. You can light that fire and use that fire in your own house. Light the fire daily so that you can use it. Is part of the purification. But the most important thing here with these purifying elements is the intention. You have to set your mind to the right intentions towards that purification. Okay, I mentioned that. And then you can use those on sacred gatherings. And then there is the soil. Of course, there's many different elements now of the soil, as you can see on the screen corner. I think bazongisiza abantu ekusebenza nabo ukuthi ibovu leli lapha phezulu, angithi it's called ibovu.
Yes, King Kunja.
Yes. ibovu is used both for skin protection, but also for feeding the skin. You know, people talk about skin food, hair food, and all that. Our bodies need these elements from the earth to feed into ourselves. Yeah, so it is part of protection also from the sun. At the bottom there, I think there is. I can ask Maklaba please to help me with that. I do not remember the name of this kind of clay, this kind of yellow kind of clay. What is it called in Sintu? Oh, sorry, I'm asking. Linda, anyone who remembers?
Do you mean the yellow one?
Yes.
It's called gold clay. I don't know what it's called in
gold clay.
in an African language, but
okay.
It's used for protection, like we are after magabig nomsebenzi, just to purify your space.
Oh, okay. And all right, I see. But you see, but it's also an element of soil. If it's clay, it's basically soil. We are made up of it. It's some of the elements that some people even. I'm not sure if it's the same as that same soil that is used as kind of like a rock that people like to eat. But I think there's another element of another thing that you can another day.
It's the same thing.
It's got iron.
I don't know why they like eating it, but
yeah, there must be something in us. There must be something in us that draws us towards eating it. So soil is used, but also wait. I think Coco, since you are on, can you please just continue on the slide? When it comes to the soil elements.
Are you talking to me, Mkolum?
Yes, Nkosi.
Oh, okay. So on the top left, I hope it's everybody's top left. That's Ibomvu, and then on the top right, Itumane, and then at the bottom, I'm hoping that Xhosa people will tell me what the name of that clay is. But it's usually used in the same as part of your initiation processes. I've seen it dominantly being used as Xhosa in the Xhosa community, but I'm pretty sure other communities also use it as well. And then on the bottom left, sorry, it's called gold clay. If somebody knows what this clay is called in an African language, please do help us. But this one is used for purifying. Mostly at home, we use it to purify the yard. Let's say begunomsebenzi, or there was like some form of a function, and when everybody leaves, we chela. I don't know how to say uqhela in English. Some things cannot be explained. Explained.
Perhaps we can just say to sprinkle. So you'll sprinkle. Yes, you'll sprinkle this around the yard.
Sprinkle is an understatement.
Yeah, but why not if you say it translate? So it's almost similar to libation, but it's not really a libation.
Yes.
But it's similar, and the action is similar to doing a libation, because libations are done for different things, both for purification and also for remembrance, and also for connecting, as I was talking about water, connecting that water element to the spiritual element. So libation is done mostly for the people who have passed on in their remembrance. And the others, of course, rites of passage. You can use these, all different traditions use this white soil and a white, what do they call it? I forgot what it's called. It's soil, like a lime of some sort. And they use it for different rites of passages. When people are doing a rite of passage and they go into the wilderness, they usually, from the Xhosa all the way up to North and West Africa, you will find people applying the white pigment upon their skin. It's part of the purification process. And it's also a transitional process. And you can see the Himba people now of Namibia, you would find them mostly clad in that red ochre. It's called ochre. And they have it as part of their traditional, they say it connects them to the earth from which they come. It is something that grounds them and connects them to the earth perpetually.
Beautiful.
Kulu, just to say, like I've seen there's quite a bit of a difference in terms of when a person goes through ephetweni and when you go through the rites of passages. I've seen Uguti, when people go through the rites of passages, the as they grow, they usually use ibomvu, which is the one on the left. And then when the people go through an initiation to become maybe a sangoma of or something similar, they use the one on the right, which is ituman.
Wow, that's amazing. But yeah, but on the same topic now, I think we mentioned last week the issue of being in connection with the soil. I mentioned that one must go barefoot. We might not have it on the slide, but this whole thing of connecting with the soil, because in our DNA, in our subatomic memory, we know that we are made up of everything. We are the universe, we are the stars, we are also the soil and all the elements underground. So it's important that because we wear shoes these days, we have become all modernized, we hardly ever take a walk on the grass or on the soil. That is part of a purification and a cleansing process that you can do daily in the morning. For example, I use it with my children. I make sure that when they wake up, it's not a TV time, it's not anything time, it's a time to go outside and greet the sun. You know, so we do exercises barefooted outside in the soil. If you cannot do that, we must be cognizant that some people live in flats. A whole lot of us live in the flats in Emalokshin. I come from Emalokshin too. So, but create a space or find a time during the week whereby you go out somewhere where there is soil and get in touch with it. Whether you are touching it with your hands or you are touching it with your bare feet, it's very highly purifying and cleansing.
Yes, Mkhulu, thank you so much for that. Then we go on to talking about water. You'll see on your top left-hand side, you see two ladies there inside the water. Now, the most interesting part about water as well is that you can speak life into it because water carries memory. So you can actually, all by itself, speak into it so that it then assists you in that cleansing process. At other times, we also put other things into water. As you'll see on the bottom right-hand side is a bath with, it could be herbs. Some people will put candles. Some people will put ash in there. So water can be utilized, it's versatile. It can be utilized in very many ways in order to perform or assist with the cleansing. Then we look at also different forms of water. It can also be used as a vapor, as steam. On the bottom left corner, you can see the steam that can be utilized. NgesiZulu sithi ukugquma noma ukufutha, where you steam with the vapor. Also, we know that in our gyms or health spas, we also have saunas, which also emit steam, and that steam can also be utilized just on its own without anything really, just to perform a cleansing of the body. It cleanses. It helps you. It helps you purify, for example, fat to get rid of fat, your body to get rid of fat. So there are many types of uses of water to help you to purify your space and yourself. And to the top right-hand corner, we have, I would call her a spiritual intercessor or an indigenous healer, also with a bucket and a flail. And there she is also utilizing, in the bucket will probably be a herb mixed in the water to perform a particular cleansing ritual. So, but our indigenous intercessors are also helpful when you go to them, in a sense that they can also understand from you what it is that needs cleansing. Sometimes we might think of one thing that needs cleansing and yet it is another and they are very helpful in that regard, and they can help us in the process of cleansing. And then we move on to this slide. You will see here.
Before you move,
yes, Nkosi.
can we just go back to that water slide?
Yes.
We need to caution. I just wanted to caution people in terms of because I can see that at the top left, there's a lady in the river, and I know some people are more inclined to like go into the river or go into the ocean. Just as a caution, and I'm pretty sure that if you've never done this, please go with an elder or isango masako or your healer to do this, because just now you might just be taken with the water. Or if you have never done this, stick to the bathtub, you know. It's just as effective. But be cautious not to just randomly go to the river if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much, Nkosi, for that. A very important caution there, because water does also contain water spirits, and our ancestors in the waters do have a dominance in that space, and one needs to prepare. In some instances, you even need to fast before you go there. In some instances, you can't eat food like fish or any type of seafood before you go there. So that's an important caution. You need, if you're going to go into the water, as it is depicted in this picture on the top left, you need to prepare this particular method. So you can't just wake up in the morning and decide, I want to go into the water. You do need to get into a preparation for this before you actually do it. Thank you, Nkosi, for that. We see candles. Ladies and gentlemen, candles have been utilized throughout the world. So I won't go into the different types of colors, because the colors are subjective. It depends on you individually. It also depends on your family, or it depends on your culture in terms of how to utilize candles and how to utilize the various colors. Be that as it may, candles are also very good in terms of cleansing, and that is something that you can actually do daily. You can actually light your candle daily. You can light it in your bathroom, for example, when you're taking a bath. You can light it next to your bed before you sleep. Just be careful though that it is not next to curtains, where an open window might blow a curtain onto the candle and therefore start a fire. So whenever we do anything that contains fire, we do need to exercise caution, so that we don't find ourselves in trouble, and then we eventually burn ourselves and hurt ourselves. Be careful all the time when you're using fire. At the bottom left, we have ash, and ash is also very important in cleansing. When I grew up, we couldn't afford many things, and one of the things that my grandmother used to do was to use ash as toothpaste. So we used ash to clean our teeth. So there are a lot of properties in ash that can be utilized for cleansing. Also, we use ash, for example, if a child has a runny tummy, you do put a little bit of ash in the water just to settle the tummy. So ash has a lot of properties, a lot of cleansing and healing properties that are very good. Even in terms of the garden, when you have a garden, you can actually sprinkle ash on top of your garden bed, and that helps your plants as well. So it's got many properties, but primarily in the cleansing space, ash is very good, and you can use it in water. So it's a very important ingredient for cleansing. The top right, King Menzi spoke about fire. Fire is very important for cleansing. Ngesintu ke kukhona lokhu kuthiwa yiziko, where you will have a house, a particular house in the yard that functions more or less like your modern day kitchen, where there's always a fire. And the reason for its importance is that during family time, when things are being discussed, they utilize izigo as that healing space, as that cleansing space, so that whatever is being discussed can actually have meaning, and you can make headway in terms of those discussions. You can unify as a family. You can emerge stronger as a family. So izigo is also very important in our homes, but also having a fireplace is also very helpful to cleanse. And in the picture that we have here, uma uzokwenza ushisa kufanele ukuthi uwenzele in an open space outside the yard, but this is to caution here as well. This needs to be prepared for, and you need to be cognizant of your environment, because you don't want to start fires. So you can't do this in an area where there's dry grass that will easily catch a light, because then you might cause damage unintentionally. So sometimes we intend to do good things, but then we have slightly bad outcomes depending on how we've done those things. So we just need to be careful when we perform some of these cleansing rituals, so that we don't end up causing other problems. Another thing that's important here, on your bottom right hand side, is a smudge stick. Incense to smudge. You burn incense. There's a bit of a wind element here with the incense to cleanse your air. So when you are burning the incense, or you're burning your smudge stick, you are cleansing, or your helichrysum as well, cleansing properties, to cleanse the air, to cleanse the negative energy out of your space. So this is also very important as well to utilize for cleansing. Then we go and we look at I.N.Healing.
Can I add, Mkhulu?
Yes, Coco.
Okay. So I just wanted to add a bit here in terms of what's this, the what's this, impepo, or whatever it is that you decided to what's this, to burn. You can actually use it everywhere in the house and get into all the rooms. That's, yeah, in terms of smudging. And just to add on into the candles, different candles have different meaning. And if you want more details about candles, there's many YouTube channels that speak about candles, or you can actually Google. There's lots of healers that have actually covered the importance of candles. Don't just use candles. That's another caution. Don't use a candle if you don't understand what it is for. The safest one is the white candle, since it can't so far, and if when in doubt in terms of other colors, it's better to ask somebody who actually has knowledge, because you don't want to invite things into your space where else what's this, that was not your intention. I think Mhleli, when he started, he said it wasn't Menzi. When he started, he said intention, so when it comes to candle colors, we have to be cognizant and not just burn candles as we please.
So we look at in this slide in Telezi, these are also important for blocking or cleansing your space, also cleansing yourself. Now, we have various types here, primarily aloe, which is important in that regard, and there is a herb. There are some herbs that are utilized for cleansing, but in the event that perhaps, let's say, you are not able to have access to those herbs, aloe is, in its various forms, pretty readily available. So the intention here is to get you things that are accessible to you wherever you might be, because some of the things might be accessible perhaps in rural areas, and we are living in town, so you might not actually be able to get to a rural area. But aloe, we've got nurseries that grow aloes, we've got aloes in our gardens, so it's readily available for us to utilize for cleansing. Salt is also absolutely vital, particularly when you want to cleanse but also block negative energies. Salt is very helpful for blocking negative energies, the salt properties are also available in seawater. So seawater again is very helpful also to block and to cleanse negative energies as well. So seawater is very helpful. It contains natural salt in it, and it helps to cleanse the space. Your salt can be also used, for example, in conjunction with soil. So some of these cleansing items can be utilized in conjunction with each other. We know water, for example, can be used on its own, but we also know water can be used with herbs, certain herbs to perform certain cleansing rituals. Also in terms of libations, as King Menzi was talking about earlier. Now, sea sand as well. Sea sand, when it comes to soil, your soil cleansing, your sea sand is also very important. It's instrumental. Also, the soil in the rivers also helps to cleanse and purify your space. So you have a number of options in terms of the shall I say, cleansing apparatus that you can utilize to clear out negative energies, both in yourself and your environment and your space in general. And on that, I think Gukona Inzog at the Nkosi before we move on to the question and answer session.
I just wanted to add the names of the other two plants. So collectively, these plants are called succulents. Menzi, I know he's gonna correct my my pronunciation, but I don't care. But anyway,
I'll let you go today.
So the one at the top, at the bottom right is called the Kalonchi Thyssiflora, and the one at the top right is called the Echeveria bluebird. It's a this plant, the one on the right, this is an example. The top right, this is an example of us not being mindful of our surroundings and the plants that we have around. Growing up, this plant used to be so abundant around the neighborhood. Every second house used to have this plant, and this plant right now, trying to find it, they said it's, according to, it's a rare plant now, considering that we used to grow up having it at every second house. And now it's one of those plants that you now have to actively seek. We need to take care of our homes, and that means that even nature, we also need to make sure that we take care of it. Otherwise, we're not gonna have some of these protective plants and these cleansing plants that you see on our screen one day. And the two other plants, these are just two different types of aloes, two different species.
Can we also just speak on the fasting, Gogo?
The fasting. So there's different types of fasting, and it doesn't necessarily mean that people go what's this? Mhleli touched on this, that if you're gonna go to the water, you need to be cognizant in terms of, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would be applicable to everybody. But I personally, it's just for example purposes, when I go to the water, I wouldn't consume any dairy products. I wouldn't consume any fish, you know, and that would be my fast, you know. And also there's a fast where you eliminate certain items, and there's a fast where you just eat at specific times, I believe. Intermittent fasting.
That's the one.
Yeah. So yeah, and in terms of where you fast at specific times during, where you eat at specific times of the day, and then there's like dry fast where people like literally take out all liquids and whatever from their fast. And there's day fast as well, where people fast during the day, and then during at night they eat. When the sun sets, they eat like is it normal, but during sunrise, from sunrise to sunset, they have they go through a whole fast. So there's different fasts. And also we need to be cognizant before you decide to that you're gonna go into this fast, you know. You need to be cognizant of your underlying diseases, you know. Also, I want to caution when Mhleli spoke about water. Guys, all the cleansing stuff, we need to be cognizant. Just now, upetwe diabetes, and then you go into a steam bath and you start steaming and chaos breaks loose. Please, 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 when you do the whatever ritual that you decide to use, be sure that it is okay with you based on your underlying issue. This also goes with fasting. I can't expect a person who's diabetic to be fasting from morning to sunset. That's like trying to commit suicide, or be expecting somebody who has kind of what's that other disease, Matlaba, that affects
Blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
In terms of you, yeah, like people,
or
like
insulin resistance.
Yeah, but you know what, you may have to be sure in terms of even these plants in Telezi, or it depends on whichever language that you decide to call them in Telezi, but you can't use it on your body. Maybe you can use it in your yard or in your space, but you can't use it on your body if you know very well that you are allergic to it. It's not going to end well. Even I also want to make it, while we're talking about intellis and whatnot, lavender is one of, I always make this example because for me it's something that I can relate to. Lavender is a very good protective plant as well, and it's also good at clearing out bad energies and whatnot. But I can't go off and start using lavender. I'm allergic to lavender, you know. That's just one example in terms of I can't even touch like I'm allergic to it, you know. And I'm hoping that one day someone will come up with a cure for allergies. I'm agreeing.
Thank you, Coco.
Now we've discussed healing methods and to utilize various items, herbs, water, fire, wind, earth. And what is important, of course, for a lot of the cleansing processes, particularly the rituals, ritualistic cleansing, does require sexual abstinence as well. So, excuse me, in as much as you look at fast or the various types of fasting, you do also need to bear in mind that if you are preparing for a particular ritual, be it a cleansing ritual, be it a commemorative ritual, you do need to make sure that you abstain from sex for a period of time, depending on the type of ritual. When we deal with ukuhlolwa kwensizwa, for example, you need to make sure at least 3 days before you start that ritual, you have not engaged in any sexual activity. So these do demand honest.
Can I just add there?
Yes.
It's not even about the sexual, it's general energy exchanges. There are certain times where you generally need to distance yourself from other people. And this includes, I know for myself that there is certain times where I generally distance myself from people. No hugs, no whatnot. This is avoiding exchanging energies with people because I'm preparing for something very, what's this, significant. And I need to do this with my, like, while I have my own energy and not energy that is mixed with other people. So I just want to add that it's general energy exchanges, and this includes fasting from friends. Sometimes you just need to fast from your friends, you know, and or fast from touching people or anything like that. You know, it's general energy exchanges.
I think you are agreeing. Because then I think
I'm saying I'm adding.
You're elaborating. What I'm finding is also, you see, sometimes it's the words, you know. Sex is an intense form of intimacy. It's touching, but it's on a deeper level, and there's a whole lot of, the energy is on a higher vibration. But you're 100% right. You are agreeing. And I like the elaboration that you've done. Thank you.
No, I said I'm adding.
I'm not now. My God.
Siyabonga, Nkosi.
Like
Dr. Lina had her hand raised.
Yes. Go ahead, Dr. Lina.
Oh, okay. I'm wearing a different hat. Wearing a hat laga koko. Where I was actually going to elaborate on the sexual part. Yes, it's true about the high vibrations, but also when we go into swing, now I'm talking different. It has concerned me over the years. And coming back to SA, where I have experienced people saying, bayoparolwa kodwa bangathwasanga bayiswa emanzini. It concerns me, which is something that we need to talk about. And you find that people have been intimate, and then suddenly umuntu ushona namanzi, or umuntu izinto zakhe zibheda worse than what they were before. There are many things that attribute to that, but sex is one of them, because you've been on this very, very high vibration. So uyongena nabanye abantu emanzini, and we spoke about the water spirit, which is another spirit that not everybody has. And masungenile lapho, it gets invoked. And people sometimes don't understand that we come back with things that were not meant for us, things that don't belong to us, things that we're not even supposed to have. So it's a topic that we need to actually go very deep into, because you find people saying, not everybody has umdao.
Yes.
Not everybody has inzunza. So this is something that we need to get into and actually have a day where we teach each other and workshop each other, because we now have so many issues and problems in our communities because we go and fetch things that we're not supposed to be fetching. That was true. One. And then number two, I wanted to talk about the candles. Again, there's certain colors that some people are not supposed to be using. And you've touched on that, saying on culture and family background and belief. There are people who are not supposed to light candles at night at all, because it will bring the spirits that they do not need. So it is often advisable to light your candle just before sunset. When the sun and the moon are about to exchange, you light it and pray. Again, it's not for everyone. People need to understand that, because I know that a lot of us feel we are rising, we want to be in touch with our ancestors and those that have been there before, but you need to be very cautious, and you need to get people who understand to help you on the journey. Otherwise, you're going to bring things that you're not supposed to be bringing into your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Gogo.
Gogo.
Any other questions? Comments?
There's nothing so far on the platform. Okay, we just have one comment from Ugogo Ritabile. She says, yes, please. As Dr. Lena says, can the different spirits discuss be the next topic? Maybe not the next topic, but definitely we are going to add it into topics to be discussed.
It is something that we actually need to unpick because a lot of people do not understand. Like Manju Kwakolina, Dr. Lina just mentioned Inzuza, Umdao, and some people don't even know what that even means, you know? And you just go to the water, and hence I said that if you don't know what you're doing, leave it. The bathtub is just as good if you want to do a cleansing, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You know, don't go to the water, don't go to the ocean and start performing a cleansing if you are not aware. It's wise to have Masako or your family elder, because some people makadzi or burahadi that are specifically dedicated for such tasks. So it's just, if you are not aware what you're doing, please don't.
And just to also add on that, just as what Dr. Lena was saying in terms of there is a big uprising in terms of spirituality, and we all want to do as much as we can and get in touch, but we really need to be mindful and cognizant that spirituality is not the same for everybody. You know, what I'm doing and what or my friend or anybody else is doing is not going to be the same. So even when we are on these platforms, we are sharing information, but this is general information that you still need to use very cautiously and consult an elder and really get into your community. And I know that most of us, we say, oh no, but my family doesn't believe I want to do anything spiritual related. That is when you start engaging in other people in your community. So this is very much about starting the conversation to be able to get out there and start making the connections and making the information specific for you. Don't just take everything and start doing everything. With Monday, ugeza ngalokhu, Tuesday, ugeza ngalokhu, Wednesday, ugeza ngalokhu, khanyisa onke amakhandlela. That is not the intention. The intention is to bring information, but there needs to be a lot of discernment with that. Thank you. Okay.
On this topic, and also in response to Dr. Lina's statement, the team knows, the Ikhambi team knows that we have workshops planned. I would like to put this particular one as one of the workshops. We have a couple of them that we are planning that we would like people to participate in. They can subscribe and all that. We will share information as time goes by. But I'd like to say that the depth of the topic of going to the water and what she said about picking up spirits that you do not intend to pick up, it can also happen, and we used to discuss this a lot when I was in the Rasta community, because I was a priest in the Rasta community. So what would happen is the fire also has the same elements that you will find in water. You can pick up a negative elements from the flames as they go up, because we are talking about a big fire here made up with big logs. Anyways, we go around, it's like a community maybe of a hundred people or a few hundreds. There's a lot going on there. So I would like to suggest that as one of our workshops, what did call master classes, we can do this with the right. We have a lot of like herself, Dr. Lena, and others. We have a lot of healers that can conduct those kind of master classes, and I would like to urge people who are interested in such.
That was a hint, Dr. Lin.
Yes.
What did I say?
No, nothing.
Okay. We have a question from Unogwanda. She says, in terms of healing and cleansing, I'm very interested in the developments of traditional herbs with the battle against coronavirus. Any insights from our panelists on those developments?
So you know what, when it comes to coronavirus, ne, I would like to refrain from speaking about it. And I have my reasons, because people then tend to take what you say and no abasai your consultant, you know. And we had this discussion during the breathing session. That it's important. There's no one size fits all, and this also goes with any disease, you know. And for me, based on my observation in terms of how the coronavirus patients have reacted, they don't all react the same. So therefore, the treatment cannot be the same. And we had this discussion where Ritabile shared her story. Ritabile's story is different from my mother's story. Ritabile used mhlonyane. My mother didn't use mhlonyane. My mother's diabetic. Using mhlonyane drops her blood sugar levels quite significantly, you know. And so therefore, it's a quite tricky, you know. We can't say there's a template, you know, in terms of with all diseases for that matter. That you can't say there's a template. There is certain medication that you can go to as a point of departure, but also when you think about your patient's underlying illnesses, there's certain medication that you can't go to. Like for instance, my aunt has lupus. I can't use certain herbs on her, because then it would mean that if I'll be boosting her immune system, and I can't do that with a patient that has lupus, because if I boost her immune system, then her lupus becomes active, and now I'm dealing with two problems now. So that's why I'm really reluctant to answer this type of question online. It's not it's simple. It's as simple as that. I hope I answered Dunogwanda's question quite.
She says she has responded. She says, haha, noted. Togoza Gogo was just curious. Sorry, I'm just not going. Was just curious based on the WHO accepting traditional therapies to trial out.
There's lots of methods that we discussed in terms of treating some of the symptoms. That's why I said symptoms. You know, for me, the patients that I've observed, it was just a matter of treating the symptoms based that the patient was presenting, and not necessarily saying, "Oh, we are curing coronavirus." You know, we treated the symptoms, and I think Uritabile can share her story again here, you know. Dr. Lina?
Okay. I think the simplest way to answer is to say a flu virus comes in different forms for different people. One person can get the virus via the tummy. Another person, it will be a headache. Another person, it will be a runny nose. Another person will say, when it has now moved on to being a cold, they are hot and cold because they have a fever. Even if they go to a GP, we wouldn't give them the same medication or treatment. One will be treated with antibiotics. One will be treated with just mild medication. So it's not a one size fits all, as you are saying. And people need to be very cautious, because if you give an answer, they're going to think it's a blanket statement and it's for everyone. So they should treat it, because corona is a virus that is flu linked. And people must just know, what is it that works for them doesn't work for the next person, as you put it. So it's very dangerous for us to put a blank recommendation, because even in your home, when everybody has a flu, not the same thing is going to work garlic, ginger, and honey for the next person. They might need antibiotics because the virus has mutated in such a way that they actually need very strong antibiotics. So that's the best way to look at it. Look at how you've treated your symptoms before. What is it that you needed? How many days of sleep did you need? because that also plays a role.
Thank you, Gogo.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lena. Yeah. It also helps, you know, when you keep a journal in terms of helping, besides in the coronavirus, you know, it also helps when you keep a journal in terms of your allergies and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Like it helps you when you go for a consultation, and you it's like you're meeting me halfway, you know, in terms of, I know if this one doesn't work for you, if you come to me and you tell me, oh, I'm allergic to sunflowers, I already know which herbs already to eliminate from whatever treatment that I'm going to give you. Because if you're already allergic to this one, if you tell me that actually I'm allergic to rosemary, it doesn't serve me well if I'm going to give you a treatment that contains mint, because that's the same family, you know. Keeping a journal also as well, it really helps. Yeah, that's all I need to say.
I'd also just like to share that please can you also, for anybody who wants to get more information in terms of specific respiratory illnesses, please can you go to our Facebook. We also have it on YouTube, and we have videos where we did the breathing series where we specifically covered all of those, and you'll be able to get more details on that and the specific herbs that you can use. Is there any other questions or comments?
I think Gokri Tabile, we wanted her to share her story a little bit. So perhaps if she can switch on her mic.
Thank you, Mkhulu.
Yes.
Nkosi, Thokoza. Yeah, I think I just wanted to add on to what Gogo, Nelly, and Dr. Lena said. With every disease, one realizes that we don't all present with the same symptoms, and therefore we will not all require the same treatment. And definitely that's what I've seen with the coronavirus, where I had 10 or more people around me presenting with different symptoms, having tested with positive with coronavirus. And amongst the 10 or more people, you find some very fortunate presenting with just a runny nose and nothing else, and they're okay. Some are just coughing, they need alcophilics and a bit of pepper and garlic, and they're good to go. Obviously, we advise everybody to steam in order to mitigate the congestion issue and the phlegm issue, because it can affect everybody. Then you find some are ill because of diabetes and underlying issues, but they don't present with the same symptoms you would expect of COVID. They just presenting more of their diabetes issues, etc. And out of the 10 or more, you find one person like Retabile presenting with respiratory distress, where you know, it pushes you to a point where you feel, oh, now today it's the last day. And thank God, having had Gogo Nelly take care of me through the telephone during that 3 weeks, we can say, yeah, no, definitely we can beat this. So I think Abo Gogo are correct to say, you know, not one size fits all. Look at your symptoms clearly and listen to your treating physician or your healer very carefully. Do what you are told and you'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Gogo Tabile.
Thank you so much, Gokri Tabile. Are there any more questions and comments?
No, there's nothing on my side that I can see.
Okay. Then we can move over to the medical disclaimer.
I will just go through the medical disclaimer, and it goes information. The information that is shared here is only for educational and informational purposes only, and not to be construed as medical advice. The information is not intended to replace medical advice or treatment offered by healthcare professionals. I would like to, on behalf of the team from Ikhambi Natural Healing, I would like to thank everybody for being with us this rising and contributing so much to the discussion and always being very active in the sessions. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your support. Please continue to share, like, and subscribe. We have our YouTube channel. We also have our Facebook page. We also have a blog. All of those you will find, it's the name Ikhambi Natural Healing, and you can follow us, and videos will be uploaded. The session will be uploaded shortly. And I would like to just invite everybody to please join us next week, Sunday at 9 a.m., where we will be discussing mental health. Thank you very much. And from the team and myself, have yourself a beautiful Sunday. Thank you. Goodbye.
Mali, Buma, Tokoza.
Thokozani.